Ladies and gentlemen, namaste, good morning. And thank you to India Foundation and the organizers for having me here and allow me to share a perspective from Singapore's perspective about ASEAN-India relations and the way forward. I am aware that time is creeping up on us, and I'm the last of about 10 speakers. The peril of speaking last is that everyone else has said what I want to say. And much more distinguished speakers at that. But I will abbreviate the points I want to make into two main points, neither of which are new, but I think worth reiterating. Firstly, you have heard, and especially this morning in the previous panel, very forcefully how we're in this world of transition. Unipolarity is gone, bipolarity may not arrive, multipolarity will most likely be the new order. And in this new multipolar world that is emerging, India is undoubtedly, with its heft, with its economic growth, it is undoubtedly a major pole. And so is ASEAN. Our combined GDP can top the top two, in fact, economically speaking. So there's all the world, and all the more that we should collaborate and join our efforts to shape this new order. As a wiser boss, ex-boss once told me and has repeatedly said since then, this world that we see now of being unsettled, of wars, of tension, has always been the historical norm, in fact. And when we talk about weaponization of trade, for example, in the past, imperialist powers literally opened markets at gunpoint. I'm afraid there's nothing new. But India and ASEAN are very well placed and complement each other to work together to form, as best we can, a new, stable, rules-based order, and especially in our region, an inclusive rules-based order, where states, big or small, have an equal say as we chart our path forward. Against this rather gloomy backdrop, I think the theme of this summit is all the more relevant. Connectivity, connections among us takes on an extra urgency. We've already heard repeatedly yesterday and today about the ancient links that link India to Southeast Asia. In fact, my very first posting as a Foreign Service officer back in 1999 was to Phnom Penh. And I visited Siem Reap 4 times, and as Ambassador Preeti said, Angkor Wat is beyond words. It's amazing. But the Indian civilization's imprint on Southeast Asia is not limited to Angkor Wat. As we have already heard, no country in Southeast Asia is untouched by the Indian civilization. Sure, there were some disruptions due to various geopolitical developments in the past 60 years. But in the past decade especially, with India's Act East policy, I think we are on much firmer footing to build links for the future. And therefore, the themes of this summit, being future-oriented, are especially relevant now, and particularly because we are among a room full of youths. You hold our future. So what are the themes? Well, you have already gone through them, and there are breakout sessions about them. Sustainability, the digital age, the challenges faced in governing AI, entrepreneurship. Let's take a couple of examples where ASEAN and India have already taken some steps. The digital economy. ASEAN and India are home to some of the world's fastest growing digital economies, and there's scope to broaden existing collaboration, including on digital payments, financial inclusion, and digital connectivity. I believe the Reserve Bank of India was welcomed into phase 4 of ASEAN's Project Nexus last year, through which we hope to improve the cost, speed, access, and transparency of cross-border payments in time to come. ASEAN also hopes to conclude negotiations on the Digital Economy Framework Agreement sometime this year. And it is projected to double the value of our region's digital economy to some $2 trillion by 2030. ASEAN can complement this with India's strengths in digital trade and India's leading role in the technology and AI space. For instance, we can explore ways to extend India's expertise with digital public goods, such as its UPI, to the ASEAN level, since it has already been linked up with the Singapore equivalent. Just to take another example in your theme of the green economy, very quickly, ASEAN and India are, as we all know, experiencing rapid economic growth and urbanization, and therefore rising energy demand. Collaboration on the green economy will ensure that our mutual growth remains sustainable. And one potential area could be the ASEAN power grid. ASEAN power grid requires sizable capital investments, especially for example, subsea power cables and interconnectors, and even overland connections. We welcome Indian companies to partner with their Southeast Asian counterparts to develop the infrastructure needed for greener energy projects, as well as interconnectivity. And India is very well placed to do this because it already has a lot of expertise in low carbon solutions, such as solar power, and as was already mentioned, India is a co-founder of the International Solar Alliance. So India, we see it as playing an important role in helping ASEAN to generate low carbon solutions and establishing the norms and regulations for sustainable power generation. Let me conclude by drawing our attention to the big picture again. I know it's a rather gloomy one that I painted earlier, and it should be of grave concern to anyone who cares about the future, as I'm sure all of you do as youths. So these future-oriented themes are a way of prompting you to think more deeply and to discuss with each other on solutions as you chart your own future. We can overcome challenges. Our region has proven extremely resilient in overcoming all the challenges that have been thrown at us in the past. I want to end on an optimistic note, therefore. What I've described just now, the various ASEAN-India platforms, mechanisms, agreements, governments can build those building blocks, but like Lego bricks, you play with them. Build them to your liking, and I'm sure you can look forward to a bright future. Thank you again to India Foundation for the hospitality. Thank you.